year 2025 is this is something that many people in the military talk about, and many analysts talk about, is that it's going to be the year where Russia draws near to a point where it generally exhausts the endless bottom of Soviet supplies. No, all Soviet machinery, um, lots of things that they have as a Soviet legacy, and it will have to switch on its own production, which is still far behind its needs in such a war in which it spends so much with so little results. So maybe if we have all the aid coming in, if we have all the appropriate weapons, if we have decided on our own problems, and including our own defense production, which is still possible, and many things are being done in terms of launching Ukrainian own defense production too, behind the lines, inside the country, with innovative methods of production, and also abroad in European countries on Ukrainian with Ukrainian manufacturing capabilities. Maybe we'll be able to counterattack on degraded and exhausted Russia next year. But right now, what many people talk about is this year is decisive in terms of Ukraine being able to go through this and get another chance to not to repeat the last year's failed counteroffensive, but to do it a smarter way with more support and then more resolve from the international backers, because you can't really go on this way. This is not the way you win wars. Yeah.
And of all the pieces of equipment and weaponry that is included in this aid package, is it the ATACMS that are actually going to be most significant for taking the fight to Russia?
Yeah, it's rumors have it that many lawmakers in the U.S. they included this provision into the bill, and rumors have it that Americans started preparing aid packages long before the bill was approved, in order to send it as soon as possible, because the time is running very short. We've come to this situation. I don't get it why the most powerful country in the world, the most powerful decision makers in the world, only act fast when it's like when the situation is getting close to being absolutely critical. It's like taking the time before it's really bad. But nonetheless, we rumors have it that yes, ATACMS are coming here, and again, in many ways, this bill is a breakthrough in terms of multiple red lines in terms of weapon types being sent to Ukraine, such as ATACMS, the same ATACMS that were like a no-go zone for many months, and they actually ended up being sent to Ukraine in a very obsolete form, and Ukraine ended up using them and getting insane results with the Russian airfields in occupied Crimea, with Russian airfields wiped out by these obsolete ATACMS. And the sky is not falling on the earth, and no nuclear weapons are being applied in this. No nuclear holocaust is happening. What happens is Russia sustaining a heavy blow on their military capacity and their ability to go on. So yeah, rumors have it that we are getting advanced types of ATACMS, which are absolutely necessary in terms of disrupting Russian war machine from beyond the front line, undermining their effort to support this, which is essential for this war. It's just, in many ways, this bill is one more step towards the logic of not only helping Ukraine go on, but also applying these mechanisms of how the war works in terms of undermining Russia's ability to go on, which is how you win wars. You don't win wars by simply staying on the same level. You win wars by denying your adversary of means and ability to go on. That's how you do.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because, since the vote on Saturday to approve this package of aid, there's been a kind of sigh of relief in the Western world. But what you hope doesn't happen is that people therefore think, okay, great, America provided a load of aid, that's it, that's enough. And
Yeah.
actually, it's really important for other countries, other Ukrainian allies, notably Europe, to also step up and provide aid. And it's interesting, the arguments that you were describing there, Ilya, about, sending ATACMS that used to be made of we don't want escalation, etc. Those are the same arguments you hear being made in Germany, for example, about sending Taurus missiles. But I'm sure you would like to see Taurus missiles also deployed in Ukraine.
Of course we do. And in many ways, the good news is about this the success of this defense aid bill is that in many ways European allies looked to the Washington D.C. in terms of their readiness and what they do next. In terms of should we follow? What should we do in this? It's a bit of a two factions about this. So one side says that we got to look up to the United States of America in terms of their next strategy, and maybe if they are walking out of this, maybe we should think about our own defense too about this. If Americans have given up on Europe, on the European defense, another thing says that if Americans are walking out of this, maybe we should step up and assume more responsibility, assume more leadership about this, because America has um, the perfect chance to enjoy this planet isolation. Meanwhile, it's Europeans against against Vladimir Putin and his enhanced war machines, and there is not much help outside of this. And Europe spent decades basically getting demilitarized because of the decades of peace, of course. So yeah, I think in many ways what's happening in the United States right now, it's another painful and hard and very unnecessary struggle towards getting rid of this escalation management logic that never worked. It doesn't really work. you know I really hope, and many of us here in Ukraine really have a hope of decision makers just assessing the experience of the previous months of the war and finally understanding that escalation management doesn't work. Giving Putin a chance to walk out of this war and save his face doesn't work. What works is the providing Ukraine with means to deny Russia's ability to go on. It's the only way. When you step out, when you try to be nice to Putin, when you try to avoid responsibility, when you try to avoid complicated decisions and probably risky decisions that don't end up being that risky but necessary, you just give Putin even more space to advance and to walk further. So that's the way it works. Denying him space, denying him chance and ability to go on is the only way. So hopefully that's going to work in this regard. But the most essential thing is that, yeah, we are glad that this is happening, because the situation is not good in the front line, especially in the front line. And I would say that in many ways, given the extreme critical lack of munitions in basically all types of munitions, all classes of weaponry right now here in Ukraine, it's a miracle that we haven't lost more over these months of critical delays in aid, because we lost Avdiivka, we lost several small towns in Donbass, and thanks God, and it's only because and thanks to insane heroism by the Ukrainian military, and also the use of substitutes such as FPV weaponry, FPV drones, other weapon types that somehow mitigate the lack of munitions, but also the motivation and the enthusiasm of the military, that we haven't lost more. And it's not really about the land, but about losing people, capacities to go on, and it's just a miracle that we are where we are now, right now, given all the critical lack. So kudos to the Ukrainian military. They again and again
Yeah.
they do something that was seemingly impossible, but still they do this somehow. I don't know why.
Thank you for watching Frontline for Times Radio. For more on global security and the war in Ukraine, you can listen to Times Radio, take out a digital subscription to The Times, and click subscribe on our YouTube channel.